Hello everybody, Tim Manning here. I wanted to try to keep this video short, but um, um, just make sure that you put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me, 2 in the chat if you can't hear me. I'm going to try to definitely keep this short. But I wanted to come on today to share with you all some news that's happening in the economy. Now, you may be a business owner, you may not be a business owner, but this particular live stream is meant to be informal. So I want to kind of share with you what's on my screen here so you can kind of have a reference. Um, so this says GM lays off and plant shuts down, suggests the UK may be starting to slow. Okay, now this is I don't want you to think this is fake news. This is just for informational purposes only. I'm not trying to push any particular political party or whatsoever. This is just business information. I'm a person that likes to pride myself on telling the truth. And so if you don't like hearing the truth, you may not want to stick around for this particular video. But I wanted to just kind of share this with you to really talk about a couple of things. One is that um, as an employee, if that's where you currently are, um, I would suggest that you really go back to look at your 5-year plan. Okay. What do I mean by having a 5-year plan? Well, we can kind of talk about that later, but at least if you plan on being an employee 5 years from now, you need to have a plan within your organization or with another company. Okay. And I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. Now, if you are owner of a company, you still need to have a 5-year plan. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into a specific industry in this particular video, but I will say this is, let me see if I can just kind of go to a website that I go to quite a bit, and that is Yahoo Finance. Okay, because um, I trade stocks, but I not only trade, I invest. And why am I telling you this? Well, one of the things is, especially if you work for a public company, CEOs similar to um, GM, which is a public company, they have to post their numbers on a quarterly basis. So the financials, I mean, okay? So as it relates to the the overall uh, goal and the importance of whatever public CEO is looking for, is to make sure that they have a not only fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, but to make sure that the company is in good light of the market. Why? Is because the I wouldn't say the success of the company is based on the market, but because they're a public company and there are a few different ways to raise cash. One is debt and one is equity. And if you're a public company, they're raising cash via equity. So the lower the stock price, the less amount of equity they're able to obtain. And I'm not going to get into all of that in this particular video. But what I'm saying is, if you're an employee of a public company, I want you to start to think, not necessarily be selfish to a certain degree. I know it may sound like I'm saying that, um, but I want you to think of it from another point of view, meaning um, CEOs have a responsibility to their shareholders, but they also have a responsibility to their employees, right? Because, and I'm not going to get into the management aspect of things in this video, but how the financial the financials work is that the government requires you to pay your employees before you pay yourself as a company. Okay, so look at it from, because like I said before, the CEO is responsible for making sure they're in fiduciary responsibility to their stockholders. So if stockholders are requesting for higher EPS, which is a earnings per share, it's a few ways to do that, right? One is to do a lot of buybacks, right? So buybacks, and I'm not going to get into the the technical aspect of buybacks, but it's technically a short definition is a company is buying back their own stock. And if you follow the stock market, I'm pretty sure you know that a lot of corporations have been doing that over the past 24 months, right? Um, because it's I don't know if it's been advantageous for the employee, but it's been advantageous for the stock price. Okay, but and I'm gonna leave that for another video. But I wanted you to I wanted to share this with you because I want to kind of give you some knowledge on where your company is going, especially if you're a public company. And as a private company, it's a little bit harder. And if you're in a private company, make sure you leave a comment below. Send me a message. I also leave a link somewhere behind in the comments where you can kind of DM me via Messenger if you have some questions. If you're in a private company, but the goal of the CEO is to make sure that the company is going forward, whether it's public or private, right? But there are ways you can kind of get around the system if you're a public company. And am I saying that GM is doing that? I don't know. I don't know the CEO personally. But I will say this is that they have, as you can see, they've laid off almost over 10,000. They're going to lay off over 10,000 people. So is it just because of they want to get cheaper labor? That's a whole nother topic. But I want you to keep this in mind, especially if you're an employee of a public company. I've seen, just on my research and me trading stocks, most CEOs, not all, but most CEOs look for the bottom line. Um, I kind of shared this. I'll share this with you. I actually saw a comment via social media the other day. Reason why a guy, um, I think he started his own business, but he ended up saying one of the reasons why he started was because he got laid off, and his employer thought of him as an expense and not of it as an investment, right? So CEOs have to make that decision, especially every quarter, but more than likely some of them make that decision every day. But I just wanted to hop on and really provide some informative information about um, really not just helping people that are employees, but let me just kind of offer some tips for if you're a CEO watching this particular video and you have employees, or whether you don't have employees. I think it's still relative because you still need a 5-year plan, right? And a lot of people, and the business owners that I've spoken to, is that they they're so cost conscious that they fail to, how can I put this? They're so cost conscious that they no longer follow the vision of the company. So just say, for instance, my 5-year vision for one of my companies is to reach XYZ dollars. Let's say $5 million in sales, and let's say I want to do 5 million next year, and I want to do 5 times that in 5 years. So 5 times 5 is 25. So and I think that's reasonable given the timeline. So you do 5 the first year, not the first year, but the next year, and you'll be doing 25 in 5 years. So, assuming that's the goal, depending on the industry and the infrastructure, I could be so cost conscious that I don't invest at all, even during the first, for the next year to actually generate that $5 million. And I can have that mindset, right? I was like, well, no, we're not going to invest in any type of advertising. No, we're not going to hire anybody. I can have that mindset as a CEO, and still want to grow my company. Okay, that's kind of um, it's kind of a seesaw mentality, and I'll talk about that later. But as a CEO, it's your job to manage and steer the ship. Okay. Now, vision does come into play as it relates to that, um, but you have to make sure that um, you think about cost, but not in a way of, oh, I'm gonna run my company on bare bones, right, to generate 5 million next year and 25 million in 5 years. Um, I'm pretty sure that if you have that mentality and you continue with that mentality, you're not probably going to keep a lot of people around, and you're probably going to have poor customer service. But anyway, I wanted to just come on this particular live stream, be very informal. Hopefully, it provided some value to some of you all. Leave a comment, question below if you had any questions on this particular live stream. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but because I'm looking at the markets on a daily and a weekly basis, it's very important, whether you're in business or an employee, to make sure you not only have a 12-month plan, but you have a 5-year plan too. So regardless of where you decide to be in the next 5 years, make sure you commit to that plan, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.